My sister refused to save my kids. So I ruined her engagement. Here's what happened. I've been my sister's safety net her entire life. When she was 17 and couldn't finish her college essays because she was crying too hard to see the screen, I stayed up until 4 in the morning writing them with her. When she called me at 2 a.m. sobbing over a breakup, I drove across town in my pajamas just to sit with her in silence. When she got stranded at a party an hour away with no ride home, I left my own plans and picked her up without a single complaint. I did all of this because I thought that's what family does. You show up, no questions asked. But over the years, I started to notice something. She never showed up for anyone else, not for me, not for our brother, not for our parents. It was always about her needs, her emergencies, her convenience. My brother pulled me aside one day and said, "You know she's never going to change, right? She only calls when she wants something." I didn't want to believe him, so I confronted her. I sat her down and said, I love you, but this feels one-sided. I need you to start being there for other people too. She cried. She apologized. She promised she would do better. I believed her. A few weeks ago, she called me with this breathless, excited energy. She said, I'm engaged, and I want to host my engagement dinner at your house. Please. It would mean the world to me. Pastor, and I didn't even hesitate. I said yes. I cleared my entire weekend. I started planning the menu. I deep cleaned my house. I bought decorations. I treated it like it was my own celebration because I wanted her to feel loved. Then last Thursday happened. I was driving home from work on the highway when I saw brake lights. At first I thought it was just normal traffic, but then I saw the flashing lights, the ambulances, the police cars. A massive crash had shut down the entire highway, 4 lanes, completely stopped. I sat there for 10 minutes, then 20, then an hour. My phone kept buzzing. My husband texted me, "I'm stuck too, there's no way around this." Then the daycare called and my stomach dropped. The woman on the phone said, "Hi, just a reminder that pickup is at 6. After 6:30, we charge $100 every 30 minutes. When I looked at the clock, it was already 5:45. I looked at the road ahead of me. Nothing was moving. I felt my chest tighten, and I started doing the math in my head. If I'm stuck here for 2 more hours, that's $400. Maybe more. But it wasn't even about the money. It was about my kids. I pictured them sitting in that daycare, watching every other child get picked up, wondering why mommy wasn't there. I felt sick, so I called my sister. She answered on the 3rd ring, sounding relaxed, almost bored. I said, "Hey, I need your help. I'm stuck in a massive traffic jam from a crash. I can't move. The daycare closes soon, and they're going to charge me a fortune if I'm late." She said, "Oh, no, that sucks." I waited for her to offer. She didn't. So I said, "You live 10 minutes from the daycare. Could you please pick up the kids and just keep them at your place for a few hours? I'll Venmo you gas money. I'll bring you dinner, whatever you need." There was a pause. Then she said, "I can't. I've had a really long day, and I just want to relax tonight." I felt my hands start shaking. I said, "Please, I'm begging you. I don't have anyone else nearby. I'm not moving. I can see the crash from here. I'll be stuck for hours." She sighed, like I was bothering her. She said, I'm sorry, but I'm really not in the mood to deal with kids right now. Can't you call someone else?" I said, "Who? Everyone else is over an hour away. You're 10 minutes from them." She said, "I don't know, but I can't do it tonight. Can you?" And then she hung up. I sat there in my car, staring at my phone, feeling like I couldn't breathe. My own sister, the person I would drop everything for, the person I had dropped everything for countless times. She said no because she wanted to relax. I called my mother-in-law. She lives an hour away in the opposite direction. I could hear the concern in her voice the second she answered. I explained everything, trying not to cry. She didn't hesitate. She said, "I'm leaving right now. Don't worry, I'll get them." She drove an hour through traffic. She picked up my kids. She took them back to our house and waited with them until 9 p.m. when we finally got home. She didn't complain once. Meanwhile, my sister posted an Instagram story of her glass of wine and a face mask with the caption, "Self-care Sunday came early." Something inside me snapped. I talked to my husband that night. I said, "I'm fine. I'm done. I can't keep doing this." He agreed. The next morning, I texted my sister. I said, "I need you to understand something. Family means showing up for each other, not just when it's convenient, not just when you need something. I have been there for you every single time you asked, and the one time I desperately needed you, you chose a glass of wine over my children." I took a breath and kept typing. "I'm canceling your engagement dinner. I will not host it at my house. I will not plan it. I will not be part of it because I'm done being the only person in this relationship who gives." She called me immediately, screaming. She said, Are you serious right now? You're going to ruin my engagement over one thing?" I said, "One thing. This has been happening for years. I've just finally had enough." She said, "You're being petty and selfish. Everyone's going to think you're a terrible sister." I said, "And you're being exactly who you've always been, someone who only cares about herself." She hung up. Within hours, my phone was flooded. My mom called saying I was overreacting. Her friends were messaging me saying I was cruel. Even some of my own family said I should have just let it go. But my mother-in-law texted me and said, "You did the right thing. Boundaries aren't punishment, they're protection." Now half the family won't talk to me. My sister is telling everyone I'm jealous of her engagement. She's playing the victim, and I'm sitting here wondering if I went too far. But then I remember her voice on that phone call, bored, unbothered, unconcerned, and I think, no, I'm not wrong. I'm just finally done being used. She says I destroyed her engagement. I say she abandoned my kids when they needed her most. Who's really in the wrong here?
My sister demanded to be my maid of honor, invited people I barely know to my wedding, and still says I'm the problem. Here's what happened. She didn't just ask to be my maid of honor, she demanded it. Called me the second I got engaged, wouldn't let me say no. I didn't even want a wedding party. I begged her to just be a guest. She acted like I'd stabbed her in the heart. So I broke. I gave her the title, but I warned her, this isn't just a crown, it's work, it's time, it's showing up when it matters. She swore she could handle it. Swore on everything. But I already knew the truth. Screaming toddler at home, job that's bleeding her dry, marriage hanging by a thread, she was drowning, and I handed her an anchor. Then the worst night of my life happened. My future in-laws, drunk, out of control, chaos I can't even fully describe. I called her, texted her, begged her to just be there. She vanished. Radio silence. Like I didn't exist. So I did the thing everyone says makes you a monster. I fired her, ripped the MOH title away, apologized until my throat hurt. Then I torched the entire wedding party. No bridesmaids, no groomsmen, scorched earth. Just to make it fair. She exploded, screamed that I humiliated her, that I destroyed her in front of everyone, sent me article after article. Brides who betray their sisters. The cruelty of firing your maid of honor. She told me a decent human being would never do what I did. But she wasn't done. She demanded I invite her in-laws, total strangers, people I'd never even met, and my mom. She'd already told them they were coming, without asking me, without even a heads up. They guilt-tripped me, tag-teamed me, wore me down until I caved, fine, they're invited. Then, the day before my wedding, the day before she shows up to my rehearsal, with those same in-laws, completely uninvited. My wedding planner walks up to her mother-in-law, smiling, thinking it's my mom, and I just stood there, frozen, and said the words that I'll never forget. I have no idea why any of them are here. Now she's coming to my baby shower, acting like nothing happened, like we're fine. And I finally admitted something I've been hiding for years. I love my sister. I will always love her. But I don't like her. I don't think I ever have. I keep wondering, what if I just said no from the start?
I told my sister with cancer that bad things happen to bad people, and now my entire family says I crossed an unforgivable line, but none is hearing my part of the story. I need to say this up front. I'm 27 years old. I told my sister she deserved her cancer, and I don't know if I regret it. Her name is Ava. She's 31, and she has hated me since the day we met. Not, we fight sometimes hate. Not, we grew apart hate. I mean the kind of hate that calculates, the kind that waits, the kind that finds you when you're already down and makes sure you stay there. Let me take you back. I was adopted when I was 8 years old. I don't remember much about my life before that. I remember being scared a lot. I remember waiting, and then I remember meeting my new parents, kind people, warm people, and thinking maybe things were going to be okay. Ava was 12. She looked at me exactly once, and then she looked away. From that moment on, I wasn't her brother. I was a problem she didn't ask for. It started small. People would ask her at school, "Is that your brother?" And she'd smile, this sweet, polite, practiced smile, and say, "Oh no, he's just a family friend. He stays with us sometimes." A family friend. At Thanksgiving, at Christmas, at our birthday parties, where I'd sit in the corner and wonder why I was even there. Our parents corrected her every single time. "Ava, that's your brother." She'd nod, apologize, wait a week, and do it again. I was overweight as a kid. Not huge, just soft, awkward, the kind of kid who got picked last in gym class. Ava made sure no one forgot it. She'd grab my stomach in front of her friends and laugh. "Careful, he might eat everything before we get any." I'd stand there, frozen, while everyone giggled. She knew exactly what she was doing. And then there's my name. I have a very feminine name. Think Ashley, or Jamie, or Kelly. It's not a weird name, it's just not what people expect for a guy. Ava never let me forget that either. Why do you even have a girl's name? Were they hoping you'd be a daughter instead? She said it at family dinners. She said it in front of my friends. She said it at the DMV when I was getting my first license, loud enough for the clerk to laugh. I asked my parents once if I could change it. They said no. It was the name my birth mother gave me. It meant something. So I kept it. And Ava kept using it like a weapon. When I was in high school, I wasn't out yet. I knew I was gay. I'd known for a while, but I wasn't ready to tell anyone. I was terrified. Ava wasn't. She wrote an article for the school newspaper, an opinion piece, about how some people lie about who they are to fit in. She mentioned my name, my grade, the fact that I was adopted. She didn't say the word gay. She didn't have to. Everyone knew. I didn't go to school for a week. I lost friends. People whispered in the hallways. Someone spray painted a slur on my locker. I came home one day and found Ava in the kitchen, making herself a sandwich. I asked her why she did it. She shrugged. I thought people should know the truth. That was it. No apology, no remorse, just truth. A few years later, our parents decided to foster 2 younger kids. I encouraged it. I believed in it. I knew what it felt like to need a home. Ava lost her mind. She came into my room one night and stood in the doorway shaking. "This is your fault." I didn't understand. "What are you talking about? If you hadn't pushed them, I'd still be an only child. You replaced me." I stared at her. Ava, you never even wanted me here. She didn't deny it. She just said, and now there's more of you. When I was 13, our parents went out of town for a long weekend. Ava was supposed to watch me. She locked me out of the house. I knocked. I called her phone. I begged through the door. She stood on the other side and said, you don't live here. I slept on a neighbor's couch for 3 nights. Our parents called her, told her to let me in. She didn't. When they came home, they were furious. But nothing happened. No punishment. No consequences. Just a conversation behind closed doors that I wasn't allowed to hear. And Ava went back to ignoring me. Last week, Ava called me. She called all of us, me, our 2 younger siblings, our parents. Come over for lunch. I need to talk to everyone. I didn't want to go, but my siblings convinced me. Maybe she's trying to apologize. Maybe she's finally growing up. I didn't believe it, but I went. Me and my siblings stopped to pick up food on the way, because Ava only cooks for our parents, never for us. When we got there, our parents were already in the kitchen, crying, not quiet tears, full, body-shaking sobs. I looked at my siblings. They looked at me. Something was very, very wrong. We walked into the living room. Ava was sitting on the couch, hands folded in her lap. Calm, too calm. She looked at all of us and said, I have cancer. Silence. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. I didn't know what to say. So I said the only thing I could manage. I'm sorry about that. Ava's face changed. That's it? That's all you have to say? I blinked. I don't know what else. You don't know what else to say? I just told you I might die, and you're acting like I told you I have a cold. My mom started crying harder. My dad looked at me like I'd just committed murder. My siblings were frozen, and something inside me, something that had been holding on for 19 years, finally snapped. I looked at Ava, and I said, honestly, you shouldn't be surprised. She froze. What? You heard me. What the hell is that supposed to mean? I stood up. It means bad things happen to bad people, Ava. Maybe karma finally caught up with you? Ava started sobbing, not the controlled, performative kind, real, guttural, broken sobs. My mom screamed, how could you say that to her? My dad stood up, face red. Get out. Get out of this house right now. My siblings were silent, staring. I grabbed my keys. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't look back. I just left. My parents have called me 17 times. I haven't answered. They've left voicemails. How could you be so cruel? She has cancer. She might die. You're supposed to be family. My siblings are split. One of them texted me, you shouldn't have said that, but I get it. The other one said, you left us there to deal with the fallout. Thanks. Ava hasn't reached out, but my mom says she's devastated. And me? I'm sitting here, trying to figure out if I'm a monster. Because I know cancer is terrible. I know no one deserves it. But I also know what it's like to be hated by someone for 19 years, to be erased, to be humiliated, to be locked out of your own home, and never, not once, receive an apology. So I'm asking you, am I the asshole? Here's the thing. I didn't plan to say it. I didn't walk in there thinking, I'm going to hurt her. But when she looked at me, expecting sympathy, expecting comfort, expecting me to forget everything she'd done, I couldn't. And maybe that makes me heartless. Or maybe it just makes me human. I don't know if I'll ever talk to her again. I don't know if I want to. But I do know this. Cancer doesn't erase cruelty, and forgiveness isn't something you're owed just because you're suffering. So yeah, maybe I'm the asshole, or maybe I'm just done pretending. Does suffering erase accountability, or are people allowed to protect themselves even when someone is sick?
My half-sister messaged me after 24 years of silence. Then her fiancé called me jealous. Here's what happened. I'm 25, and I have a half-sister. Her name is Hannah. She's 24. Yes, that kind of half-sister. Do the math. You'll get there. She's not just my dad's daughter. She's the living, breathing proof of the affair that detonated my entire family. The scandal that turned my childhood into whispered conversations and slammed doors. Because of that, Hannah was never really in my life. Not at birthdays, not at holidays, not in any of the memories that actually mattered. If I'm being generous, I've seen her maybe 10 times total, and every single one of those times was awkward, tense adults, standing in corners, whispering like we were radioactive. No one knew what to do with us, so they did nothing. Growing up, she wasn't my sister. She was the thing no one talked about, the name that made rooms go silent. When she turned 16, something changed. She found me on social media, and she started messaging me, hey, I know this is weird, but I'd love to know you. I've always wanted a sister. It's not my fault how I was born. And she was right. It wasn't her fault, but it also wasn't mine. I didn't ask for this. I didn't create this mess. So I ignored every single message. Not out of cruelty, not out of hatred, but because I didn't owe her emotional labor for a situation I didn't cause. I was still healing from what her existence had done to my family. And I wasn't ready to carry her pain, too. Eventually, she stopped. By our early 20s, she faded back into non-existence. And honestly, I forgot about her until this year. Out of nowhere, I get a message. I'm engaged. I'd really love you to come to my engagement party. I stared at my screen like it had personally insulted me. We hadn't spoken in years, not a single word. And now she wanted me at her engagement party. Then she added, also, Could you help me reconnect with Dad's side of the family? I'd really love them to be part of my wedding. And that's when I realized she didn't want me. She wanted access. She wanted the family that had shut her out, and I was supposed to be the bridge. I took a breath, and I told her very clearly, very calmly, I'm not interested in a relationship. But to be fair, I did ask the rest of the family. My granddad, my aunts, my cousins, every single one of them said no, unequivocally. So I relayed the message. I asked, they're not interested? I'm sorry. End of story. Or so I thought. A week later, I get a message from a man I have never spoken to in my life, her fiancé, and oh my God. Hey, I just wanted to reach out. I understand it must be really hard being the product of an affair. I know you're probably jealous because Hannah had the stable family life you were denied, but she's always wanted a relationship with you, and you're being incredibly cruel by shutting her out. I just sat there, rereading it, feeling my blood pressure spike with every word. Excuse me, I was the product of an affair. I was shunned. I was the outsider who missed out on the perfect family. I was jealous. This man had the entire story so aggressively backwards, it felt like performance art. Like he'd taken reality, flipped it upside down, and shaken it until nothing made sense, so I didn't respond to him. I forwarded his messages straight to Hannah. No commentary, just a single question mark. She replied a few hours later, and that's when everything clicked. She admitted, casually, like she was confessing to liking pineapple on pizza, that her fiancé and his entire family have no idea she's an affair baby. They think she stayed in close contact with my dad's family her whole life. She went to the same schools I did. She went to the same university as me. She had the same upbringing. She basically lived my life. She didn't just lie. She copy-pasted my existence and handed it to herself like a costume. And when I didn't fit into her fictional narrative, I became the villain, the jealous half-sister who couldn't handle her success. I didn't scream. I didn't insult her. I said one thing. If I hear from anyone in your life again, I will tell them the truth. Clear, final, non-negotiable. Months passed. Silence. I thought it was over. Then a few days ago, my phone lights up again. Her fiancé, and now his sister. You heartless bitch. Get over your jealousy. You're emotionally blackmailing her dad and ruining her wedding. You're a spiteful, selfish witch. I sat there shaking, reading message after message. Apparently, Hannah's dad, my dad, isn't attending the wedding. And somehow, in her twisted version of events, I'm the villain behind the scenes. I'm the one manipulating him. I'm the reason her perfect day is falling apart. I typed out responses, deleted them, typed again, deleted again. I wanted to absolutely eviscerate them with the truth, but I didn't, because part of me thought, she'll handle it. She has to. She created this mess, but she didn't. And now I'm stuck because this can't keep happening. I gave Hannah one job, handle your lies. She didn't. And honestly, the lies are disturbing. She's marrying a man who has no idea who she really is. His family has built an entire narrative around a fictional version of her, one that conveniently paints me as the jealous, bitter monster who can't let go of the past. And every time they message me, I'm bleeding from wounds I didn't create. So now I'm asking, would I be the asshole if I finally replied and told them everything? On one hand, I'd be blowing up her entire life. Her engagement, her wedding, her relationship. On the other hand, she already weaponized her lies against me. She made me the villain in a story I was never part of. I didn't start this, but I'm the one paying for it. So tell me, am I the asshole if I finally tell the truth? Or am I supposed to keep bleeding in silence while she lives a life built on my stolen identity? Because right now I have one message typed and I haven't sent it yet, but I'm running out of reasons not to. She weaponized my existence and I'm supposed to stay silent?
We said no kids at the reception, not the ceremony, just the reception. My sister responded by weaponizing her daughter's disability to get my fiancé investigated at work. So I gave her an ultimatum, and I don't know if I'll ever speak to her again. I'm 29 years old, male. My fiancé is 28, female. And my sister just tried to destroy her career because we wouldn't change our wedding for a 4-year-old. I know how that sounds, but let me walk you through this, because it didn't start out ugly. It started out normal. We got engaged 2 years ago. We saved. We planned. We picked a venue. We sent out save the dates for July 2021. Everything was on track. And then we sent out the invitations. On every single one, in clear, polite language, we wrote, "We love all of your children, but for the evening we will be having an adults-only reception. Not the ceremony, not the photos, just the reception. One night. That's all we wanted. One night where we could drink, dance, and not worry about whether someone's toddler was going to have a meltdown during the speeches. We didn't think it was a big deal. Most people didn't either, except my sister. Let's call her Melissa. Melissa has 2 kids, a 4-year-old daughter who's autistic, ASD level 2, and a 2-year-old son. We love them both. That's not in question. That's why we included them in the ceremony. My niece was going to be the flower girl. My nephew, the ring bearer. We wanted them there. We wanted them in the photos. We wanted them to be part of the day. But the reception? That was different. Melissa didn't see it that way. About a week after the invitations went out, she pulled me aside at a family dinner. Didn't ask to talk privately, just said it, right there in front of everyone. Just so you know, my daughter will be at the reception. Not a question. Not a request. A statement. I blinked. No, she won't. The reception is adults only. She crossed her arms. She can't be left with a sitter. I looked at my fiancé, she looked at me, and I said, as calmly as I could, Melissa, we've been clear about this from the start. No kids at the reception. Her face went tight. So you're just going to exclude her? It's not about excluding anyone. It's about having one night that's what? More important than family? I felt my chest tighten. This wasn't a conversation anymore. This was a trap. My fiancé stepped in. She's a special education teacher. She works with autistic kids every single day. She knows what overstimulation looks like. She knows what triggers are. And she knew, better than anyone, that our reception was not going to be a good environment for my niece. She said it gently. Melissa, I get it. I really do. But the reception is going to be loud. There's going to be alcohol, flashing lights, a DJ, a crowded dance floor. It's going to be sensory overload. Melissa stared at her. So, it's not going to be comfortable for her. And I don't want to put her in a situation where she's going to be overwhelmed. Melissa's voice dropped. You work with disabled kids and you're saying this? My fiancé didn't flinch. I work with disabled kids, so I know what environments are safe for them, and this one isn't. Melissa's jaw tightened. Then change it. Silence. What? Change the reception. I laughed, not because it was funny, because I genuinely thought she was joking. She wasn't. You want us to change our entire reception? If you care about my daughter, yes. My fiancé took a breath. Melissa, I already changed the ceremony. For her. And she had the whole thing. Softer lighting so it wouldn't be too bright. Shorter ceremony so my niece wouldn't get restless. Adjusted pacing. Specific music choices. My fiancé even decided to walk down the aisle to a song from Tangled because my niece loves that movie. She did all of that. Willingly. Happily. Because she wanted my niece to be part of it. But the reception? Melissa wanted us to. Remove all alcohol. Only play kid-friendly music. Ban any triggering fabrics from the dress code. Serve only bland, child-friendly food. No dancing, no sparkly decorations. And my fiancée? She wasn't allowed to wear her reception dress because it was sequined, and sequins might upset my niece. I stared at my sister. You want us to cancel our reception. I want you to make it inclusive. It's not inclusive if we have to erase the entire thing. Her voice went cold. I can't believe you're choosing a party over your own niece. That's when I lost it. We're not choosing anything over her. We're asking for one night. One. And you can't even give us that. She stood up. Fine. Then don't expect us to come at all. And she left. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. A week later, my fiancé came home early from work. She was shaking. I asked her what happened. She said the school had called her into the office. Someone had filed a formal complaint against her, claiming she was unfit to work with special needs children because of how she treated her autistic niece. My blood went cold. What? She handed me a printout. It was anonymous. But the details? They were specific. Our wedding, the reception, the exclusion of my niece. And the wording? It sounded exactly like my sister. I called her immediately. Did you report my fiancé to her school? Silence. Melissa, did you? I was advocating for my daughter. You tried to get her fired. I told the truth. You lied. You know she's not unfit. You know she changed the entire ceremony for your kid. You're doing this because you didn't get your way. I'm doing this because you're being ableist. I hung up. But it didn't stop there. Turns out Melissa didn't just call the school herself. She got 3 of her friends to call too. All of them. Same story, same complaint. And because it's a private school, they're legally required to investigate. So now my fiancé, who has spent her entire career helping kids like my niece, was under formal review. Because my sister wanted revenge, I went to my parents. My mom listened. My dad stayed quiet. When I was done, my mom looked at me and said,
I love your sister. I love my granddaughter, but the world does not revolve around her. She called Melissa that night, told her she'd gone too far, told her that we already accommodate my niece at every single family event, every birthday, every holiday, every gathering, and asking for one adults only reception does not make us monsters. My mom told her, "You need to call that school and tell them the truth, or you're going to lose your brother." I backed it up. I told Melissa she had 1 week to retract the complaint, or I was done. No contact, no relationship, nothing. My mom supported me. My dad said nothing. Melissa didn't respond. But 4 days later, the school called my fiancé. The complaint had been withdrawn, all 4 of them. At the same time, my fiancé cried, not because she was relieved, because she couldn't believe it had gotten that far. I haven't spoken to my sister since. My mom says she's devastated. My dad says I'm overreacting. Some of my cousins think I'm being too harsh. Others think I didn't go far enough. And me? I'm sitting here wondering if I just blew up my family over a wedding reception. But here's what I keep coming back to. My fiancé didn't exclude my niece. She redesigned an entire ceremony for her. She offered solutions for the reception. She tried to protect her from an environment that would have made her miserable. And my sister's response was to try and destroy her career. So I cut her off. And I don't know if that makes me right, or if it just makes me vindictive. But I do know this. You don't get to weaponize your child's disability to punish people who set boundaries. You don't get to lie to someone's employer because you didn't get your way. And you don't get to demand the world rearrange itself around you and then play the victim when it doesn't. So yeah, maybe I'm the asshole. Or maybe I'm just done pretending this was ever about my niece. Because it wasn't. It was about control. And I refused to give it to her. Here's the thing. I didn't want it to end like this. I wanted my sister at my wedding. I wanted my niece there. I wanted it to be a good day. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being about the wedding. It became about whether I was willing to let my sister dictate my life. And I wasn't. So I drew a line. And she tried to burn my fiancé's career to the ground because of it. I don't know if we'll ever speak again. I don't know if my niece will even remember me in a few years. But I do know that I protected the person I'm about to marry. And if that makes me the villain in my sister's story, I can live with that. Because at the end of the day, this wasn't about a reception. It was about respect. And my sister lost mine the second she picked up that phone. So am I the asshole? I honestly don't know. But I'm done apologizing for refusing to be manipulated.